Did you finish your drink already? Careful. It might break. Now it'll only be a minute. Mommy just has to make sure that the cake is perfect. Let's see. There and there. Perfect. Oh, look at you. You're so adorable in your tiny footed pajamas. Happy birthday, sweetie. Wow, 2 years today. Oops. I think I know a little someone who's ready for some cake. Chugga 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 choo choo. Here it comes through the tunnel. Choo choo. I'll be right back. What are you doing? No! Hey, you. Look what I found. I wonder what it is. Why don't we go upstairs and find out? Oh my, how much cake did you have?
What?
Here we are. Now let's see what's inside. Maybe it's a new toy. Okay, sweetie. Be a dear and play for a bit. Mommy will be right back.
The playpen was actually quite a different thing because we wanted people to make sure that they were careful with the baby. So we placed the pillow underneath so when he fell down, you wouldn't feel like you were harming the kids.
And also the whole playpen's role is to introduce the player to all the mechanics of crawling and climbing, and moving objects. So we wanted to do something like this where the player is the goal is the present, and the player will hopefully want to get the present, and you can see it. That's why it's framed like it is when you get put down in the playpen, and then you have to just learn how to do the mechanics. An important aspect of Among the Sleep was to really make the players feel like they actually were the child character, especially in the characters' animations and movement, so that it was believable, and to make the child character feel very frail and fragile, so that in scary and tense situations it will become even a lot more terrifying just knowing that you are such a vulnerable character. This posed for some interesting design challenges.
Well, it's kind of fun, but after we really enjoyed the name PewDiePie gave to the elephant plush, and we actually have named it that in the game, or in the game engine as well. So his name is officially Gandalf.
He has a name tag too, doesn't he?
I think he might have.
Yeah. He has a name tag on the back leg, and because he fell through the floor or something. So PewDiePie was like, "No, Gandalf, no!" So I think the first thing that day after PewDiePie played through the alpha of this was kind of the first issue we had to take, like, why did Gandalf fall to the floor? So already there you kind of, oh, this is beautiful.
I enjoy the pink elephant in level 1. In the start it was, I made this ugly dinosaur that people thought was an elephant, and they said in game, find the pink elephant, and it was not an elephant. So I figured, hey, I'll have to make an elephant, and I made the most glorious elephant you've ever seen. So that's my favorite prop in Among the Sleep.
There's always been some discussions inside the crib about, like, how far can you go with the child's imagination as to what is assumed to be fantasy and what's real. And for example, the train's particles, that was maybe not the biggest discussion, but it's still something that is up for discussion, because the train doesn't really make smoke, I guess. It just fits into the theme.
Yeah, it works well how the kids see the world. Right here we named up a bit of the ending. Like, if you guys watching this, there's definitely be spoilers. So the first spoiler here is like the Teddy, the rhyme, which is a really cool rhyme we made. I think Anders wrote it mainly. Was that it kind of teases the fact about drinking, with the animals being thirsty, and it will you will have a lot of things related to alcoholism throughout the game, and this was like one of the earlier hits.
So we wanted the whole tutorial to be the player just playing like a kid would play with his teddy bear, and he would come alive and just kind of guide you around the room and have you interact with things in order to learn the mechanics in a kind of slow pace, as well as some hinting to the story.
The pillows, I don't know if anybody has tried them, but they have some really cool physics, and I guess that's one of the oldest like scripts or implementation of anything in the game, almost. And it's not been altered that much since we created it like 3 years ago.
Which things in-game right now are you proud of?
I just want to say as a whole are at least like maybe the characters, Teddy especially. The first time you unlock that chest and you meet the character and Roger Jackson's voice starts talking and you feel like you're in this living world, and I think that might be one of my favorite moments of the game currently.
It's effective and slow-paced enough that you can sort of still kind of experience the room with Teddy and bond with him. Was the initial goal, like you wanted to introduce him as well as the mother, that this is people that are friendly and you should care about them, and yeah, they will be basically the two only NPCs you will interact with during the whole game. Well, excluding the DLC, which we'll get to later.
In earlier iterations, the players didn't really have any connection to Teddy, because all you did was pick him up and he would order you around, and just you didn't do things together with him. He just told you stuff and you would move on really quickly. So we made it a lot more slow paced and made sure the player kind of gets to know him.
Hey, you found me. My name is Teddy. Nice to meet you. Hey, what's your name? Not much of a talker yet, eh? Let's play a game. I know. I'll hide the pink elephant while you're not looking. Come here. Turn around and cover your eyes. There. You can look now. You found it! Wow! Is that a music box? Does it work? That's a nice melody. What's this? 5 thirsty animals upon a dry, dry hill. We could use a drink, they sang, and started to drill. Unless we reach water with our newly dug well, I think we'll have to bid each other fare thee well. Oh! Does it run? How do you start it? Round and round and round. Hey, pick me up and carry me on your back. I want to show you something. We need someplace very dark. How about your closet?
This is really crucial what she says here, because your mother will berate you kind of playfully, saying like, why are you always hiding from mommy? That's a little hint that you know that something is wrong with her, but it's said playfully, so yeah. So we kind of wanted it to, once you play it again, maybe you'll see this as like a more serious thing than it is. But it's so important because for the ending to showcase that the mother actually is, you know, very loving. So we still needed to make her a very important and warm figure.
And the main thing we wanted to do in this, the first level here, was to make the player feel something for the mother. Because the mother, she is the main objective of the game. You want to get back to her. And that won't have any weight behind it at all if the player doesn't have any kind of relationship to her. So that was pretty hard to do, and we still could have gone a little further, I think. But at least now, after this sequence, the player will recognize the mother when he sees her, and you will know it's your mother, and that at least... but most people have good relationships to their mothers, so...
It has to be darker. Shut the doors completely. It has to be darker. Shut the doors completely. Good. This will do nicely. I hope there are no monsters in here. If you ever feel scared in a dark place like this, you can hug me tightly. You might feel a little bit safer.
Teddy also is interesting as he is your friend, and of course he walks around when it's safe, but when it's not, he's on your back and you can use him as an ability. It was sort of our version of, like, we didn't want to have a flashlight because it's kind of cheesy, but in this way it's sort of a metaphorical flashlight. It gives you comfort and sort of makes things feel different and a bit safer. But also he has a restriction because you won't be able to walk as fast or crawl or climb with him. So if you see a monster, it could suddenly be a limitation to have Teddy out. I think that was a good design choice we actually made with having Teddy like this, because it frees you up but it limits you at the same way, so it changes the rules of the game a bit. This is really crucial what she says here, because your mother will berate you kind of playfully, saying like, "Why are you always hiding from mommy?" That's a little hint that you know that something is wrong with her, but it's said playfully, so yeah. So we kind of wanted to, once you play it again, maybe you'll see this as like a more serious thing than it is. But it's so important because for the ending to showcase that the mother actually is, you know, very loving. So we still needed to make her a very important and warm figure.
And the main thing we wanted to do in this the first level here was to make the player feel something for the mother, because the mother, she is the main objective of the game. You want to get back to her, and that won't have any weight behind it at all if the player doesn't have any kind of relationship to her. So that was pretty hard to do, and we still could have gone a little further, I think, but at least now after this sequence the player will recognize the mother when he sees her, and you will know it's your mother, and that at least well, most people have good relationships to their mothers, yeah. So
There you are. What are you doing in the closet? Oh, are you playing with your new friend? Hello, Mr. Bear. Nice to meet you. How are you today? You've got to stop hiding from Mommy. I hope you had a good birthday, hon. Mommy would be very sad if you didn't. And now it's time for bed. If you go to sleep now, you can wake up early tomorrow and play with your friend all day. Every little boy and girl are sleeping now, all over the world. And they're waiting just for you. We shouldn't keep them. Good night, hon. Sweet dreams.
This is probably the chapter we've spent most time on. It's been iterated on for like, yeah, way too much time. It's the first chapter. It's the first chapter we started working on, so we went through a lot of learning while making it. So it's been made from scratch. I don't know how many times. Like, yeah,
15.
Yeah, the whole layout of the house has been completely redesigned at least 4 times. But due to all the iterations, for me personally at least, it's also the best level we have, I think, in the game. So if we would have had time to reiterate and redo every other level as many times, and the production would have taken like 6 years, then it would have been really, 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 really good, the whole game.
My name is Björnar, and I was art director and technical artist on Among the Sleep.
Okay, so I'm Adrian, and during the production of Among the Sleep, I've been doing very varied tasks. I've been working mostly with like PR stuff and contacting press and the web stuff, reaching out to people, and I've also been working with funding and the administrative side of things. And there's been some design work here and there, and yeah, I've basically been the person who does everything that no one else does. So every day is different.
My name is Anders Ugland, and I worked as the lead designer on Among the Sleep.
My name is Ivar Bomstad, and I'm a programmer at Grillbite.
I'm Sven. I'm the 3D artist and also the community manager. I did most of the props for the game and some of the level design and or not really the level design, but but you know, the placing.
So the first version of this intro had the player being thrown out of the bed by a visible monster, which would then search the room for you while you were crawling around there, and you had to get out as soon as possible and go downstairs. And it looked good, but it kind of threw the player into the action too soon, because back then you didn't have the tutorial beforehand, so you didn't know the controls or anything when you started, and it was just a too steep of a curve to begin with.
And so that's one of the examples of how we learned that especially from making this as one of our very first games, that on paper it's something completely different from what it turns out to be. Because as soon as you start making it, you see the flaws that weren't visible earlier, and this was one that, of course, entirely based on not being experienced enough. But the monster being in the room at the very start of the level was a really bad idea. And in the final version of Among the Sleep, you don't see a monster until I guess halfway or more than halfway through the entire game. So it needs a lot more build up.
So yeah, this is the house that you start in. It's the first level of the game, and it's the first level of the game, and it was also our first level. So we really kind of cut our teeth here working on this, and it has gone through easily the most iterations out of all the levels in the game, as we didn't really know what we were doing when we started out. But a lot of the kind of core ideas that are visible in early concept art for the level, and also the first overview map that we made for it, a lot of that is still present. We had a lot of trouble getting the player to walk where we wanted them to. At least the old layout of the house had multiple paths to everywhere, as it was a house with a lot of doors, and there's usually more than one way to get to a room in a house. And so that's why we modeled it that way to begin with. But it turned out that it didn't really work well in a game setting, because we didn't really have any control over where the player would be at a certain time. So we ended up making it a rather linear level instead, but I don't think it feels that way, as there are many doors that they don't lead anywhere and they're completely static, but it feels like it's part of something bigger, and you're always walking towards a goal, no matter where you are in that level. I think you you can probably see where you should be going. And I feel that we kind of struck a nice balance between guiding the player and dragging the player